Hi, it's Miss Nina. In honor of May is Better Speech and Hearing Month and National Stuttering Awareness Week, I am finally getting around to making the video series for parents that I've always wanted to make. So we're going to start tonight by talking a little bit about the number one frequently asked question and issue that most parents raise when their children are in speech. And that is, why does my child just not use his tools? I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that there are many factors that come to play when a child is learning and trying to carry over his tools into the real world. Mostly, it sounds like a really easy question. Why doesn't he use his tools? Like there should be an easy answer to that. Unfortunately, we understand that it's a pretty complex issue to try to change the way in which you talk. I know that if any of you have ever tried doing some of the tools here in therapy, or actually tried doing some of the tools outside of therapy, you definitely noticed that it's not as easy as it looks. And so one of the first thing that a child has to have in order to use tools is a knowledge of the tool. Now that's fine and that's fairly easy, but we have to think about the age of a child and how much knowledge they can get at their age, because the amount of knowledge a child can have about a certain tool changes over time as they grow and mature. More than knowledge, a child actually needs a deeper level of understanding of a tool. Now that's very different than just, I know what the tool is and how to use it. The understanding comes from being able to explore the tool in many different ways, understand what's really happening in their speech mechanism, and what happens when they're trying to make the tool work for them in a variety of settings. So you can imagine that that's a much more complex task than just learning the tool. Another thing that parents often misunderstand is the preparation that it takes to be able to use tools in a variety of settings. And by this I mean, and you're gonna hear a word you've probably heard before, depending on the age of your child, hierarchies. Hierarchies of difficulty. It's probably in your child's speech journal right now. But hierarchies mean taking small steps and then getting to much larger and more complex steps along the way. So for example, a child may learn an easy onset at the word level, phrase level, sentence level, pre-conversation and conversation levels here in the speech room. So there's that complexity hierarchy. And then there's also the settings hierarchy, settings and listeners. Like what communication settings does your child need to use these tools in? There are easier settings and harder settings, and those vary depending on the child. So let's say they know easy onsets here in the speech room at the word level. They may not be ready to use easy onsets at home because, first of all, they don't speak in words, and secondly, it's a whole different dynamic. There are other people in the room, there's verbal competition with siblings, there's a lot of distractions, and so it can be a little harder to do outside of the therapy room. And then it could be easier to do at home than at school. Easier to do at school in the cafeteria, but harder to do at school in the classroom. So do you see this mix and match of the hierarchies of difficulty that a child has to go through in order to prepare to use tools in a variety of settings? And finally, we have to think about the maturity of a child. Some kids just aren't ready. It doesn't matter of their age, it matters their maturity level. And some kids just aren't quite ready to learn how to handle and manage speech in the real world yet. And that's okay. There are a lot of things they're not ready to do in the real world, and we don't misunderstand that. So let's think about that readiness quotient in this way. Change usually comes when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain and the effort that it's going to take to make a change. Think in your own life how many times you know you need to make a change. You may even understand what's going to be better for you when you're ready to make that change, but you're not quite there yet in having that motivation that I just can't possibly stay the same anymore. I have got to make a change. That comes later on. And then, of course, you go into making the change and it's pretty hard and you kind of fall back, and then you try it again and it's a little easier, but you get up against a brick wall and you fall back. And we can't expect anything more from our children than what we know to be true of adults when they're trying to make changes. And so thinking about the idea that children can't yet use tools in a variety of settings doesn't make therapy a failure, it doesn't make you a failure, and it certainly doesn't make your child a failure. It's just a part of the overall process of therapy. So you're probably sitting here thinking, okay, so I'm not supposed to bug him about his tools. What can I do at home? Number one, I guess I would say patient persistence. Okay, we're going to be here. This child that you're dealing with and their stuttering is going to be around, and we're going to be able to have times that are best for a child to make some changes. So we're going to be patient, but we're not going to drop the ball on anything either. The next thing we can do, pardon me, is to be good communication partners. And that just means we're not going to judge a child's speech on how it's presented. We're just going to listen to what they have to say. So we're going to listen again to the message, but not the way it's presented. We're going to be that place where a child feels comfortable and confident, even if they're stuttering. They're not going to feel like there's an expectation of fluency on them at home, because home is the safe haven. It's the one place they're going to need where they're not judged on their communication and how it sounds. And of course, we're going to encourage practice. We're going to be good practice partners. We're going to learn what the tools are and how they sound and how they feel. We're not going to correct kids, because remember, I've probably told you I never want to put you in the position of being a speech teacher, but I want you to be a great guided listener, a great practice partner, so that your child is encouraged to know that tools are not just for the therapy room. They're for everywhere, a little at a time. I hope this has been helpful, and I'm going to be addressing a number of different issues that I have heard from parents over my many years of doing this. So feel free to send me an email if you'd like me to do a video on a topic of your choice. Happy National Stuttering Awareness Week. See you soon.